Archaeologists just discovered a Roman gladiator's treasure, and it shocked the world. A set of human remains lay beside a non-human creature for 8,400 years. A tomb containing as many as 17 mysterious skeletons was buried at the bottom of a pond, hidden from the world and completely unknown to anyone. A nearly 5,000-year-old statue of a goddess was discovered only because an archaeologist accidentally noticed a strange face emerging from the ground. A mysterious treasure belonging to a gladiator appeared in the most unexpected way imaginable. All of these are secrets that the past is still trying to tell us. Yet even after decades, and in some cases thousands of years, scientists still have not been able to find the final answers. So what really happened to the people who lived thousands of years ago? Who were they? Why were some of them buried in rituals so strange they are almost unbelievable? And what messages are the ancient artifacts found beside them trying to send us from the distant past? Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Ancient History channel. In today's journey, we will explore some of the most mysterious archaeological discoveries that have ever shocked researchers. From ancient tombs thousands of years old, to skeletons that raise countless unanswered questions, and even treasures believed to have rewritten the history of entire civilizations. Each story holds fascinating secrets waiting for us to uncover one by one. Are you ready to explore with me? If so, make sure to watch until the very end, because by the end of this journey, you may realize that history is far more mysterious than anything we were ever taught. Now, without keeping you waiting any longer, let's begin our first discovery right away. 80 headless skeletons beneath the ground in England reveal the terrifying secrets of an ancient Roman arena. You know, history is mysterious, yet incredibly fascinating. There are secrets that seem like they were lost forever in the flow of time. But sometimes, all it takes is a single shovel striking the ground for an entire world, forgotten for thousands of years, to suddenly reappear before our eyes. A striking example of this happened in 2004, when workers and archaeologists began surveying land beneath the garden of an 18th-century mansion in the city of York, in northern England. At the time, everything seemed completely ordinary. No one imagined that beneath this quiet layer of soil lay one of the most shocking archaeological discoveries in British history. At first, it was only a few fragments of human bone mixed in with soil and stones. But the deeper they dug, the more the archaeologists sensed something unusual. Skeleton after skeleton began to emerge. The number kept increasing until they had uncovered a total of 80 ancient human skeletons buried closely together underground. Just imagine, what could have caused 80 people to end up in the same place like this? That question took scientists years of research to answer. It wasn't until the remains were taken into the laboratory that a series of hidden truths began to surface. The results showed that these were all young men with exceptionally strong, powerful physiques. Many of them were significantly taller than the average for that historical period. Their bones revealed signs of intense physical training over many years. But the most horrifying detail was the cause of death. Many of the skeletons bore deep, violent cut marks. Some individuals had been pierced by sharp weapons. Several skulls showed severe trauma from fatal blows. Even more disturbingly, many of the bodies had been decapitated before burial. Based on this evidence, archaeologists initially believed these might have been Roman soldiers executed during a political purge nearly 2,000 years ago. This theory made sense, as Britain was under the rule of the Roman Empire at the time. However, as the investigation continued, the story became even more astonishing. Researchers from the York Archaeological Trust discovered signs suggesting these men were not ordinary soldiers at all. Their skeletal structure indicated specialized training. In particular, many of the bones showed one arm significantly more developed than the other, a common trait among individuals who regularly wield heavy weapons. Then came a shocking discovery. On the skeleton of one man, scientists found a large bite mark from a predator. The injury did not resemble anything seen in typical battlefield wounds. After analysis, experts suggested it may have been caused by a lion, tiger, or bear. Can you imagine how strange that is? How could a man living in northern England 2,000 years ago have been attacked by a lion or tiger? There is only one reasonable explanation. That man must have fought in a Roman arena. And from increasingly clear evidence, researchers concluded that these 80 skeletons likely belonged to professional gladiators. They were brought from various parts of the Roman Empire, including the Mediterranean region and even distant parts of Africa, to Britain to fight in deadly spectacles for entertainment. In massive arenas, before the roar of thousands of spectators, they fought with swords, spears, and shields. Many were severely injured. Many never had the chance to leave the arena alive. And for those who lost, a final blow to the head could mark the end of their life. Today, historians believe that the burial site discovered in York may be the best preserved gladiator cemetery ever found in the world. It is not just a burial ground, it is a gateway into a blood-soaked chapter of Roman history, where human beings lived, fought, and died for one of the most brutal forms of entertainment in history. When you think about battles like these, does it send a chill down your spine? As for me, I have to admit, I'm sitting here with goosebumps all over. 3 skeletons, curled up for 7,500 years, inside a cave, deep in the forests of Vietnam. Deep within the dense primeval forests of Cuc Phuong, one of Vietnam's most famous ancient woodlands, where sunlight often has to weave through multiple layers of towering trees just to reach the forest floor, there is a small cave that has quietly preserved a secret for thousands of years. This is not a treasure of gold or silver, nor is it the kind of sparkling archaeological artifact often told in stories. What lies inside this cave are 3 ancient human skeletons, resting in silence since a time when humans still survived through hunting and gathering. What is truly strange is that all 3 individuals were buried in the same posture. They were not laid flat like in modern burials, but instead curled up, as if they were falling into a deep sleep. Even today, the reason behind this unusual burial position continues to intrigue many researchers. The story begins in 1966, when Vietnamese archaeologists discovered a remarkable cave deep within Cuc Phuong National Park in Ngo Quan District, Ninh Binh Province. This cave was later named Ancient Man Cave. About 2.5 miles from the forest entrance, the cave sits hidden among limestone mountains and deep green jungle. At first glance, few would imagine that this place was once home to people who lived as far back as 7,500 years ago. After the discovery, the Vietnam Institute of Archaeology, in cooperation with Cuc Phuong National Park and German experts, carried out a large-scale excavation. Initially, the goal was simply to understand how ancient humans lived in this area. But as they dug deeper, the discoveries became increasingly astonishing. The cave floor was covered with traces of prehistoric life. Archaeologists found countless freshwater snail shells and land snail remains, along with bones and teeth from animals such as gibbons, monkeys, bears, wild pigs, deer, and other wildlife. These findings show that ancient people once hunted and gathered food directly in the Cuc Phuong forest region. In addition, many stone tools such as axes and cutting instruments were discovered, along with a nearly 6.5-foot thick layer of charcoal. Clear evidence that fire had burned here continuously across many generations. But then, a surprising discovery completely changed the significance of the excavation. Hidden beneath the ancient soil were 3 graves dating back approximately 7,500 years. Inside them were human skeletons that had fossilized but were still relatively well preserved. The graves were located at depths ranging from about 1.3 feet to 4.6 feet. Do you know what astonished the experts the most? It was the burial position of the ancient people. All 3 skeletons were placed in a tightly curled or squatting posture. Just imagine, why would they have been buried like this? Researchers believe that prehistoric people may have thought death was not an end, but a return to the origin of life. This curled position closely resembles a fetus in the womb, possibly symbolizing a kind of rebirth that we still cannot fully understand today. Beyond that, the structure of the graves also suggests that early spiritual beliefs had already begun to form. Around the skeletons, carefully arranged stone slabs were found. The base of the graves was lined with gravel. Some even contained layers of red ochre, a material commonly associated with ancient rituals around the world. Even more interestingly, most of the graves were located near ancient hearths. This detail has led many experts to believe that prehistoric people may have wanted the dead to remain close to the living community even after death. The fire that once warmed them in life may have continued to accompany them into the afterlife. According to archaeologists, this is the earliest known burial structure discovered within the Hoa Binh Hien cultural tradition. As such, this discovery holds great significance, as it sheds light on some of the earliest belief systems of prehistoric communities in Vietnam. Today, 2 of the 3 skeletons are preserved at the Vietnam National Museum of Archaeology, while the third is displayed at the Cuc Phung Museum. They remain there as silent witnesses of a lost era, telling the story of people who once lived deep in the forests, lit fires inside stone caves, and placed their faith in the afterlife thousands of years ago. If you ever have the chance to visit Vietnam, make sure to stop by these museums to see these ancient skeletons with your own eyes. 2. 2,300-year-old headless statues found in an ancient Greek tomb. Do you believe that sometimes one of history's greatest mysteries is not what we find, but what has gone missing? Because there are artifacts that have survived more than 2,300 years of reign, war, and the destruction of time, yet the most puzzling detail for archaeologists is surprisingly simple. Where did their heads go? Yes, this is the story of 2 headless statues buried beneath the ground in Greece that we are about to explore. The story begins on January 24th in the town of Paionia, located east of Athens, Greece's capital. During preparations for the construction of a new town hall, archaeologists carried out a routine survey excavation. At first, it was considered a standard investigation, simply to check whether the area contained any historical remains. However, to everyone's surprise, just beneath the seemingly ordinary soil lay precious traces of a civilization that existed thousands of years ago. As the first layers of soil were removed, researchers began discovering fragments of white marble scattered underground. After further inspection, they realized these were not ordinary stones. After many careful hours of work, 2 ancient statues made of white marble slowly emerged, but strikingly, both statues were missing their heads. Despite this, the statues still preserved an astonishing level of intricate detail. Even without their heads, the bodies clearly demonstrate the masterful craftsmanship of ancient Greek sculptors. According to experts, the 2 statues were once part of a white marble funerary monument built in the 4th century BC. That means they are approximately 2,300 years old. At that time, such monuments were commonly erected to mark the graves of the deceased and to honor their memory. One of the statues depicts a woman seated on an elaborately carved chair. Although her face is gone, her dignified sitting posture still conveys nobility and authority. The other statue represents a maid standing beside her. The presence of these 2 figures suggests that this burial site may have belonged to a socially prominent family in ancient Greek society. This type of funerary monument is not entirely new to archaeologists in Greece. Similar discoveries have previously been made in Agia Paraskevi, Markopoulou Mesogeas, and especially the famous Kerameikos Cemetery in Athens. However, each new discovery adds another piece to the puzzle, helping researchers better understand the life, beliefs, and burial customs of ancient Greeks. Yet among all these historical values, one question remains unanswered. Why were both statues decapitated? To this day, the Greek Ministry of Culture and Sports has not provided an official explanation. Were the heads destroyed by war, natural disasters, or ancient artifact looters? Or were they separated from the bodies during some unknown event thousands of years ago? No one knows for sure. Researchers only confirm that the entire monument had already been broken into multiple pieces before its discovery. It was originally created as a symbolic representation of the deceased rather than an exact portrait of real individuals. Even so, its historical and artistic value remains immense. Today, the 2 headless marble statues have been transferred to the Brauron Archaeological Museum for long-term preservation and study. There, experts continue searching for new clues in hopes of uncovering the true story behind these ancient works of art. And perhaps in the future, an unexpected discovery may help complete the missing pieces of this historical puzzle. Because archaeology is always like that. Every artifact unearthed not only tells a story of the past, but also opens new mysteries that keep humanity endlessly curious and fascinated. The mysterious tomb, containing the unexpected treasure of a female Roman gladiator in Britain. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if archaeologists one day dug deep into the ground and discovered an ancient tomb filled with secrets buried for nearly 2,000 years, and just how strange the story behind it might be? It sounds like a difficult question to answer, doesn't it? If so, then let's travel together to Credon Hill in Herefordshire, England, to find the answer. Because it is here that a stunning archaeological discovery has forced researchers to rethink everything they thought they knew about women in the Roman period, while also helping us answer that very question. During an excavation for the Yazor Brook Flood Defense Project, aimed at protecting local communities and the regional economy, archaeologists unexpectedly uncovered a special grave near the site of the Royal Air Force Command area. And from the very first traces emerging beneath the ancient soil, they realized this was not an ordinary burial. Inside the grave lay the remains of an individual with an exceptionally strong and muscular body. At first, based on the legs, bones, and muscle attachment points, experts believed this might have been a male warrior who had endured extremely intense physical activity. However, upon closer examination, especially after analyzing the pelvis, skull, and biological indicators, they reached a completely unexpected conclusion. The person buried there was a woman. This discovery immediately shocked archaeologists. According to experts, this woman may have been a female warrior or even a female gladiator who lived during the Roman occupation of Britain around the 2nd to 3rd century AD. If this hypothesis is correct, it would represent an extremely rare piece of evidence about the role of women in combat activities in the ancient world. But the mystery did not end there. Although the wooden coffin had completely decayed after thousands of years underground, archaeologists still found nails, large hinges, and metal bands placed around the burial site. All of this suggests that the woman was once placed in a high-status coffin made of expensive wood. These metal bands may have been used to reinforce the coffin or simply served a decorative purpose, reflecting the special status of the deceased. However, what continued to puzzle researchers was the striking contrast between the woman's life and her final resting place. The marks on her bones suggest she lived a life of hard labor or intense physical struggle, yet her grave suggests someone who was respected or held a significant position in society. Why would someone who lived such a difficult life be buried so elaborately? That question remains unanswered, and the discoveries did not stop there. As excavation continued, archaeologists uncovered even more fascinating details. First, beneath the grave, they found ceramic vessels along with beef remains placed as grave goods. According to researchers, these offerings were commonly used in ancient rituals, symbolizing respect for the deceased. Second, the location of the grave itself was unusual. Instead of being placed in a typical Roman cemetery on the outskirts of a settlement, this burial was found in a suburban area, separated from the standard funerary practices of the time. This only deepened the mystery surrounding the woman's identity. And it wasn't just this extraordinary grave. The excavation site also contained remarkably well-preserved Roman structures, including ancient buildings, courtyards, and waste pits filled with countless clues about life nearly 2 millennia ago. But the biggest questions still remain. Was this mysterious woman truly a gladiator who fought in life-or-death battles? Or was she a unique warrior who achieved remarkable feats that earned her an unusual burial? Perhaps scientists will need much more time to fully decode her story. Until then, all we can do is wait and see. The 5,000-year-old treasure that shook the history of China. Everything began in the 1980s, when Chinese archaeologists repeatedly discovered ancient traces in the Neo-Heliang area. Locals had long passed down rumors that ancient artifacts often appeared in burial sites there. Some people even reported finding valuable jade objects. These stories quickly attracted the attention of archaeologists. In April 1981, a cultural heritage survey team from Liaoning province visited the area for a preliminary investigation. However, it was not until 1983 that a large-scale excavation was officially launched, led by well-known archaeologists Sun Shudao and Guo Dashun. Believing that the site might hide a major historical secret, they brought in experts and began extensive digging. But reality was far less promising than expected. Day after day, the archaeologists worked under the sun and wind, carefully digging layer by layer and examining every small trace, but almost nothing of value was found. Disappointment slowly appeared on everyone's faces. After many exhausting days, the entire team was nearly depleted of energy. Then, at the most unexpected moment, history opened a new door. One evening after finishing work, as the team was packing up to rest, a staff member stepped aside into a quiet corner. While standing in the empty ground, he suddenly noticed a strange object protruding from the soil. Under the dim light, it looked like a human face staring up at him from deep underground. A chill ran down his spine, and he immediately leaned in for a closer look. The more he observed, the more unusual it seemed. Using his hands, he gently brushed away the surrounding soil. And then, a ceramic human head slowly emerged before his eyes. Shocked and excited, he immediately called his colleagues over. At that moment, no one could have imagined that this accidental discovery would become one of the most important archaeological findings in China of the 20th century. After expanding the excavation area, experts quickly confirmed that the ceramic head was actually part of a Neo-Heliang goddess statue. Further exploration nearby led to the discovery of an entire goddess temple dating back nearly 5,000 years. Once the news was announced, the international archaeological community was stunned. According to those who directly participated in the excavation, the moment the goddess's face gradually emerged from the ancient soil was unforgettable. Everyone held their breath. No one spoke a word. In the silence, only the soft brushing of tools against the soil could be heard. They knew they were witnessing a historic moment. After restoration, the goddess statue revealed a majestic and mysterious appearance. It stands about 8.8 inches tall and 8.3 inches wide. The prominent cheekbones, slightly upturned nose, wide lips, and especially the sharp, piercing eyes create a sense of both sacredness and mystery. A ring-like ornament is placed on the forehead, while the eyes are inlaid with round jade pieces about 0.9 inches in diameter, demonstrating the astonishing craftsmanship of ancient artisans. Today, the Neo-Heliang goddess statue is preserved at the Liaoning Provincial Institute of Archaeology. It is considered the oldest ceramic goddess statue ever unearthed in China. Its value is so significant that it has been designated a national treasure and is prohibited from being taken abroad for exhibition. More importantly, this discovery has helped researchers gain a deeper understanding of the Hongshan culture, a Neolithic civilization that emerged thousands of years ago in northeastern China. Hongshan sites stretch from Inner Mongolia to Liaoning and are famous for ancient jade artifacts, C-shaped dragon figures, and highly refined animal and human sculptures. What astonishes scientists is that this culture not only mastered jade craftsmanship far beyond previous expectations, but also left early traces of feng shui thinking and the concept of round heaven and square earth. The tools and techniques used by the Hongshan people to create such exquisite artifacts remain an unsolved mystery to this day. And all of this began with a completely accidental discovery by a field worker in the afternoon of 1983. You see, history is not always shaped by carefully laid plans. Sometimes it appears in the most unexpected moments. That is why it is no exaggeration to say that every archaeological excavation is like a dialogue with the past, where even the smallest trace can change everything we thought we knew about human history. The 2,000-year-old tomb containing intact grain bags that astonished archaeologists. Have you ever wondered what would remain if we buried a bag of grain underground today and dug it up 2,000 years later? Most of us would probably assume that everything would have long disappeared before any future generation could ever see it. But an archaeological discovery in China has shocked scientists because materials that should have completely decayed have survived for more than 2 millennia, as if time itself had forgotten them. The story began on May 7, 2021, in Xi'an, Shanxi Province, China. During the construction of foundations for a new residential complex in the Huangpu area of Kujiang District, workers unexpectedly discovered traces of ancient structures deep underground. The Shanxi Provincial Institute of Archaeology immediately launched an emergency excavation. What no one expected was that beneath the construction site lay an enormous ancient cemetery. In fact, the excavation had already begun earlier in August 2020, and initial surveys revealed more than 1,000 ancient tombs scattered across elevated terrain, land that ancient people considered an ideal burial location. This area is located about 2.5 miles south of the mausoleum of Emperor Han Xuandi, a well-known emperor of ancient China, and about 0.9 miles from the northern boundary of Duling Town. Most of the tombs date back to the Middle and late Western Han dynasty, with a smaller number from the Tang, Ming, and Qing dynasties. But among these thousands of tombs, one particular burial captured the full attention of archaeologists: Tomb M553. Although it had been looted in ancient times and many valuable burial objects were taken, M553 still preserved secrets that stunned researchers. Based on its scale and structure, scholars believe the tomb's owner was likely a noble or high-ranking official during the Han Dynasty. The tomb was built in a brick-chambered vaulted structure carved deep into the ground, measuring about 55 feet long, over 13 feet wide, and around 30 feet deep. It is considered the largest Han Dynasty tomb discovered in this excavation area. Although the top of the tomb had collapsed over time and many jade and ivory burial goods had been removed, the most astonishing discoveries were found in a small chamber on the eastern side. While clearing this chamber, archaeologists uncovered objects rarely seen in Han Dynasty tombs. In addition to ancient pottery and ceramic vessels, they also found woven fabric bags filled with grain. These fabric bags had been buried underground for more than 2,000 years, yet remarkably, their outer shape was still relatively well preserved. Even more surprisingly, the organic materials inside the chamber were arranged in 3 distinct layers. At the deepest level were ceramic pots and ancient porcelain vessels, some still retaining hand-woven lids. Decorative patterns typical of ancient times were still visible on the necks of the jars. Above these artifacts was a mat that had survived in nearly intact condition. In the middle layer of the chamber were cylindrical bundles of grains neatly arranged side by side. Preliminary analysis identified them as millet and hemp seeds. All of the grain was wrapped in woven fabric and braided mats, then tied with red ribbons in the shape of the Chinese character feng. This detail is what most astonished researchers. The material used for the outer braided mats appeared very similar to reeds. However, physical analysis showed that it was not a familiar plant material at all. To this day, its exact composition remains an unsolved mystery. On the outermost layer, there was a large round bag with its opening turned outward. Inside, researchers found traces of a strange brown residue. Archaeologists suspect it may have been food, meat, or a type of soup used as a burial offering, but its exact nature has not yet been confirmed. The biggest challenge for researchers is that most of the organic materials survive only as fragile outer shells. The inner cores have decomposed into extremely delicate powder-like substances. Even slight disturbance or prolonged exposure to air could cause them to disintegrate completely. For this reason, all handling and analysis must be carried out with extreme care. According to Hu Xuanbo, head of the excavation team from the Shanxi Provincial Institute of Archaeology, Han Dynasty tombs previously discovered typically only contained grain stored in ceramic vessels. Finding grain preserved inside woven fabric bags, braided mats, and tied ribbons after more than 2,000 years is an extremely rare phenomenon in this region. Beyond deepening our understanding of ancient Chinese daily life, this discovery also opens new research directions into historical food preservation techniques. Because if scientists can decode the mysterious materials that protected these grain bags for over 2 millennia, we may uncover a secret that modern humanity is still searching for: how to preserve food effectively over extremely long periods of time. The 8,400-year-old skeleton found beside a mysterious companion. You probably already know that today, dogs are considered humanity's most loyal companions. But have you ever wondered how far back that special bond truly goes? 10 years? 20? 100? Or does it stretch all the way back to prehistoric times? And if it did exist in prehistoric times, would ancient humans have been willing to bring their 4-legged companions with them into the afterlife? If you don't yet have your own answer, let's travel back in time to Ljungaviken, in the city of Sölvesborg, Sweden. In 2015, archaeologists discovered a large ancient settlement here, containing a total of 56 different archaeological structures that offered fascinating clues to these questions. Inside the settlement were burial pits, ancient hearths, stone slabs with carved holes used for lighting lamps, and numerous traces of daily life from Stone Age inhabitants. Each layer of soil revealed stories buried for thousands of years. But among these dozens of archaeological features, one grave drew the special attention of researchers. This grave was later determined to be about 8,400 years old. Inside it was the skeleton of a man buried with formal burial rites. At first glance, it appeared similar to many other ancient graves discovered before. However, as archaeologists continued to carefully clean the surrounding soil, they were shocked to find another skeleton beside the man. What stunned everyone was that this skeleton was not human. At first, experts could only tell that it belonged to a fairly large animal. Remarkably, the skeleton was almost perfectly preserved. The joints, skull, and many key bones were still in their original positions after thousands of years. But after detailed analysis, the truth was finally revealed. The creature buried beside the man was actually an ancient dog, not just any other animal. However, this was not a dog breed we know today. According to experts, it belonged to an ancient lineage that has long been extinct. This dog was large, powerful, and had a majestic build that many modern breeds could hardly match. Perhaps 8,400 years ago, when human life was filled with dangers, from wild predators to harsh environmental conditions, such a strong dog was not just a pet. It may have been a hunting companion, a protector of the settlement, and even a cherished member of the owner's family. Archaeologist Ola Magnell of the Blekinge Museum, a member of the research team, stated that this is a completely unique case in Sweden. Before this discovery, scientists had never found a dog skeleton buried in such a special way in Stone Age graves. What is particularly striking is that the burial method shows the animal was treated with great respect. It was not discarded or buried separately, but placed right beside the man in the same grave. This detail has led many experts to believe that the dog was buried with its owner as a valuable grave offering, or even as a companion meant to continue alongside him in the afterlife. This interpretation is further supported by evidence from other graves of the same period in the region, where the deceased were often buried with items of personal significance. Therefore, giving the dog such a prominent place beside its owner suggests it held great importance. Of course, this grave is not the only remarkable find. The entire ancient cemetery at Ljungaviken is considered a rare archaeological treasure. The skeletons and artifacts here are preserved in astonishing condition. This is due to the site's unique geographical history. Thousands of years ago, it lay close to the coastline. Over time, rising sea levels gradually covered the area with thick layers of sand and mud. This natural seal accidentally created a perfect preservation environment, allowing ancient remains to survive almost intact to this day. And perhaps what makes this discovery truly special is not only the 8,400-year age of the grave itself. What truly moves people is the evidence suggesting that the bond between humans and dogs may have existed since prehistoric times. After thousands of years, beneath layers of cold earth and time, the ancient man still rests beside his loyal companion, reminding us that some bonds are strong enough to transcend even death and the forgetting of history. 17 skeletons beneath a shallow pond reveal a tragedy from over 1,000 years ago. If someone told you that beneath the bottom of an ordinary pond in a small village, dozens of ancient human skeletons were hidden, would you believe it? Probably not, right? At first it sounds like something out of a movie, but unfortunately, it is a real discovery that took place in Sangguanmiao village in Qiang City, Shandong Province, China. For many years, local residents passed by that pond every single day. The water surface looked calm and harmless, with no sign that a 1,000-year-old secret was lying beneath it. That changed the day the pond was drained. At that moment, an unexpected discovery immediately drew archaeologists to the site. As the mud at the bottom of the pond was gradually cleared away, the first traces of an ancient structure began to appear. And as the excavation continued deeper, experts realized this was not a simple structure. It was actually a large ancient tomb buried underground for centuries. After completing the survey, researchers determined that the tomb covered an area of about 3,230 square feet. Such a scale suggests that its owner may have been someone of high social status in ancient times. However, what shocked everyone was not only the size of the tomb, but what was found inside it. At first, archaeologists discovered countless animal bones scattered throughout the excavation site. There were poultry bones, cattle bones, rib bones of rodents, and remains of various other animals. The number of animal remains was so large that some experts joked it looked as if the tomb's owner had brought an entire farm into the afterlife. So why would so many animals appear inside an ancient tomb? Were they burial offerings meant to serve the deceased in the afterlife? Or were they part of a forgotten ritual lost to history? It is difficult to say, but that was not the end of the mystery. It was only the beginning. As excavation continued, archaeologists unexpectedly discovered human skeletons as well. At first, only a few scattered remains were found. Then the number gradually increased with each layer of soil removed, revealing more disturbing fragments of an unknown story. In the end, the full count left researchers stunned. A total of 17 human skeletons were discovered inside the tomb complex. This number far exceeded initial expectations. Even more striking, the individuals buried there were not of the same age or gender. They included adult men, women, elderly individuals, and even children. In fact, the remains of 2 young children were also identified among the deceased. This immediately raised a series of questions. Who were they? Why were 17 people buried in the same tomb complex? Were they members of a large family? Servants buried alongside a master? Or victims of a tragic event that occurred more than 1,000 years ago? Unfortunately, time has erased nearly all crucial clues. There are no written records, no tomb inscriptions, and no clearly identifiable artifacts that could reveal the identities of the deceased. All that remains are silent skeletons lying beneath the ground, as if still guarding their secret. Thus, these questions remain unanswered. Based on the architectural structure and surviving evidence, experts tentatively believe the tomb may date back to the late Eastern Han Dynasty, over 1,000 years ago. However, the more it is studied, the more puzzling it becomes. If this was a noble's tomb, why were so many individuals buried together? If it was a mass burial site, why were there so many animal remains and signs of careful construction? To this day, the story of the 17 skeletons beneath the pond in Shandong still has no official explanation. Each skeleton stands like a silent witness of history, perhaps telling the story of a tragedy or a mysterious ritual that modern humans have yet to fully understand. The tomb of Trong Tui's son reveals an untouched treasure buried for over 2,000 years. In Eastern history, few stories leave as deep a sense of sorrow as the tragic love tale of Mai Cho and Trong Tui. One, through blind trust, unknowingly brought about the downfall of her father's kingdom. The other, bound by filial duty, betrayed the deepest love of his life. In the end, both met tragic fates. Yet few people know that this story never truly ended. More than 2,000 years later, a groundbreaking archaeological discovery brought the descendant of Trong Tui back into the light of history. The story begins in Guangzhou, Guangdong Province, China, a land with over 2,000 years of history, believed to preserve countless secrets of the ancient Non-Yue kingdom. On an ordinary workday at a construction site at the foot of Mount Xianggang, an unexpected accident occurred. A worker slipped and fell into a deep pit that had suddenly opened in the ground. Fortunately, he was not injured, but what he saw at the bottom of the pit shocked everyone. The worker reported that there was a massive bronze vessel sitting in the darkness below. Immediately, the construction team realized this could be the trace of an ancient relic and quickly reported it to the Guangzhou Cultural Heritage Authorities. At that moment, no one expected that this accidental fall would open the door to one of the most important archaeological excavations in modern Chinese history. Yet that unexpected moment became reality. After experts began excavation, a massive tomb gradually emerged from beneath the ground. The burial site lay about 56 feet below the surface and was constructed from enormous stone blocks tightly fitted together. The entire structure consisted of 7 interconnected chambers, with walls reaching up to 39 feet in height. On these walls, ancient murals depicting the sun god and the moon god were still visible, despite being over 2 millennia old. But what astonished archaeologists the most was that the tomb had almost never been looted. After more than 2,000 years underground, it still preserved nearly everything the owner had taken into the afterlife. When the massive stone doors were finally opened, archaeologists were confronted with a vast treasure of over 10,000 artifacts. From bronze ware, pottery, and lacquerware to jade treasures, everything remained in astonishing condition. Inside the tomb, they also discovered 15 skeletons of concubines and servants who had been buried alongside the ruler. This detail clearly indicated that the person buried there must have held extremely high status. Then came a crucial discovery that solved the mystery. Archaeologists found a perfectly preserved ancient seal. Based on the inscription, they identified the tomb's owner as Zhao Wenwang, the second king of the Non-Yue kingdom. Zhao Wenwang, whose personal name was Zhao Mo, was the grandson of Zhao Tuo and is believed to have been the son of Giao Trong Tui, the legendary figure from Vietnam's My Chao Trong Tui tale. After Trong Tui died before Giao Tuo, Giao Mo ascended the throne of Nan Yue in 137 BC. One of the most astonishing discoveries in the tomb was Zhao Wenwang's body, wrapped in an incredibly intricate jade burial suit. This funerary garment was about 5 feet 8 inches long and made from 2,291 jade plaques, meticulously assembled with silk and linen. During the Han Dynasty, jade burial suits represented the highest level of funerary ritual, reserved exclusively for royalty and the highest-ranking nobles. Ancient people believed jade could protect the body from decay, preserve the skeleton, and allow the deceased to await rebirth in the future. Beyond this rare jade suit, the tomb also contained countless treasures that left archaeologists in awe. Jade artifacts, gold-inlaid swords, bronze bells, and thousands of other precious objects. Each item reflects the immense wealth and power of the Nan Yue kingdom more than 2,000 years ago. However, the question that interests many Vietnamese the most remains unanswered. Was Zhao Wenwang's mother Mai Chao? To this day, history has not provided a definitive answer. Ancient records contain very little information about Zhao Mo's mother. However, in the work Thien Nam Nguluk, written in the late 17th century, it is mentioned that Mai Chao gave birth to a son, and that the child was deeply loved by King Ndung Vung, who even considered passing the throne to his grandson. Later, Trong Tui reportedly took the child to Nan Yue, claiming it was to visit his parents and to protect him from future political turmoil. But whether this is history or legend, the discovery of Zhao Wenwang's tomb remains one of the most important archaeological finds ever made in Guangzhou. It not only helps researchers better understand the ancient Nan Yue kingdom, but also unexpectedly reconnects one of the most tragic and famous stories in Vietnamese history, bringing secrets thought to have been buried for over 2,000 years back into the light of archaeology once again. Fascinating, isn't it? You see, no matter whether hundreds or even thousands of years pass, history always leaves behind traces waiting for humans to uncover. Every skeleton, every ancient tomb, and every artifact discovered does not only tell the story of an individual or a civilization, it also helps us better understand the long journey of humanity's development. And who knows, even right now, beneath forests, deserts, or deep underground, countless secrets may still be lying dormant, waiting for the day they are awakened. So in your opinion, which discovery in today's video surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of the Ancient History Channel's fascinating discoveries. And now, goodbye, and see you in the next video.